We hear a whole lot about people saying, oh, your second brain is in your gut, and your gut is the source of all your health, and your gut is so gutsy. But when you talk to people, it really seems like nobody really understands what that means. And when we listen to experts, really the only thing that they're telling us is that, oh, you should take these probiotics for your gut. But in this video, I'm going to help you understand that that is not the whole story. It's not even close. It's not even close. Let's go.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
So when we're talking about our gut health, we're really looking at this microbiome is what they call it, and that's just a group of microorganisms that live within our digestive tract, and they can live in other areas of our body too, but when we're talking about the gut, we're talking about the digestive tract. And everybody wants to talk about this brain-gut connection, but your gut is not going to help you put together a puzzle. It's not that kind of brain, but the gut has a lot of the same chemicals and cells that the brain has, and it seems that there really is a strong connection between the gut and the rest of the body. And I'm going to put a link in the description below for some research that's kind of showing really strong indications between the well-being of the gut and things like obesity and diabetes and IBS and depression and cardiovascular disease and a whole bunch more. And to understand how this can affect situations like those issues, we need to understand the functions of this microbiome. And they actually help us digest our food a little bit. When our food makes it down to that large intestine where most of this gut flora is, they help us break down that food, and they actually help us make vitamins that the body really needs. They also are part of our immune function. So it really is a big deal, but what we need to understand when we're talking about the gut is that this beneficial microorganisms and beneficial bacteria that we talk about exists here in the large intestine. That's where most of your good bacteria is. There shouldn't be a whole lot of bacteria in this small intestine or in the stomach. The beneficial bacteria exists here in the large intestine. But it becomes clear that this really is not the whole picture when we see that by the time the food makes it to the large intestine where our beneficial bacteria is, all this other stuff has gone on. A lot of people forget about all this other stuff that has to happen in order for the state of this microbiome to be beneficial. So first we need to look at the stomach. And when we eat food, our stomach makes hydrochloric acid, or HCl. And this HCl is meant to help us acidify that food so that we can start that breakdown process. And then once the food is acidified, it leaves the stomach and goes down in here into this duodenum. Some people say duodenum, but that's not fun to say. Try saying duodenum. That's a good time. So I like to see the food come down here into the duodenum, and once it gets in here, that's when the gallbladder squirts this alkaline bile down, and that alkaline bile helps us neutralize those acids. And when this alkaline substance meets the acid substance from the stomach, it creates this sizzle when these opposite pHs collide, and that really helps us bust that food apart and get all the nutrients out of that food. And when it comes down here to the duodenum, the pancreas is also going to squirt some bicarb out there. That helps us neutralize acids a little bit, along with some digestive enzymes. There's a lot of other functions that go on, but the main things I want to focus on here when we're looking at what dictates this gut health situation is this stomach acid function and this gallbladder function. So when we're looking at the stomach breaking down our food from that acidic product, what else happens is it's this acidic product leaving the stomach and going into the duodenum that actually triggers this gallbladder to squirt the alkaline bile down. And this bile is like this soapy substance that's made up here by the liver, and then the liver puts it down here in the gallbladder, and the gallbladder's job is to basically store that bile, but it also concentrates the bile. And by concentrating the bile, then it makes a small amount of bile a lot more effective. And this bile not only helps us neutralize the acids that leave the stomach, it also helps us emulsify our dietary fats or break them down. And we also need that to happen so that we can access things like fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, E, D, K. All those things are very important. So this gallbladder function is very key to this whole digestive process. And it's the acid that's triggering that to happen. So the thing is there's a lot of things in our world that can cause a person to not be making enough stomach acid. And there's a lot of things that can cause this bile to become too thick and sticky to flow correctly. So if either of those sides of digestion are not working correctly, then you don't get that sizzle and you don't really bust the food apart so that you can get the nutrients out of that food. And when we're looking at these functions, I'll put some links to some data in the description below this video of some studies showing the correlations between gallstones and troubling microbiome, where the microbiome is not very healthy. And when we look at what's going on here, when there's gallstones in the gallbladder, we know that that bile is not flowing the way that it should, because if the bile isn't really moving like it should, then it will stay in the gallbladder where it continues to concentrate until it concentrates into sludge or into stones. So when we see gallstones, we know the bile's not really flowing like it should. So if this bile doesn't come down here and neutralize the acids that are being made in the stomach, then those acids continue to move through the intestinal tract. Well, those acids are made to break down protein. Guess what your intestinal tract is made out of? It's protein. So if these acids are going to digest a whole in your intestinal tract and then you're going to leak cheeseburgers all over your body, then the body's going to say, hey, we don't want that to happen. Let's bring all the water we can to cool this down and we'll rush it out the back door, and then that lifts us off the toilet like a rocket when we have crazy diarrhea. So that can be a cause of chronic diarrhea issues just because this bile is not flowing correctly enough to come down and help neutralize the acids that are leaving the stomach. And one possible scenario is sometimes the bile isn't flowing because there's not enough stomach acid to trigger the bile to come down. So it's important that this stomach acid triggers these other processes of this digestive process. So that stomach acid really has to be there. A lot of people take medications that turn stomach acid off, but you can have low stomach acid without taking any medications. There's a lot of things in our life and in our world that have the ability to restrict our body's ability to make that stomach acid. And if it's not there, you're not triggering these other things to happen. So another big thing about this stomach acid is it's the barrier to the whole body. It doesn't just help us acidify our food, it also keeps all the bad guys out, because that bacteria and junk is coming in on the food that we're eating, and they die in an acid bath when our stomach makes that hydrochloric acid. But if someone isn't making enough hydrochloric acid, then the bad guys are coming into the stomach, they're setting up camp, they're raising their kids, they're having a keg party, it's a great time. And once they're set up in the stomach, they will make their way down into the small intestine. And then we end up with that SIBO issue. All the cool kids have SIBO now, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And you can see that they came in because the front door was open. There wasn't enough stomach acid to fry them when they come in and set up camp. So when that's the case, these bad bacteria are going to make their way through and they can get into this large intestine and they can take over the town. And now this beneficial bacteria is having a hard time thriving because the whole town kind of went to pot a little bit. There's a little bit of disturbances going on, and it's not this good area that it used to be. So that's just one possible scenario. When we look at the effects of diarrhea, if this bile is not flowing, or if a person has a chronic diarrhea issue from some other cause, when this diarrhea comes screaming through here, a lot of times it's still in that acidic state because it didn't get neutralized correctly. And if it comes screaming through here, then you're frying all of these beneficial bacteria. They're just getting tossed into a volcano. That's why a lot of people believe that we have this appendix. And this appendix is this little doohickey thing down here in the large intestine. And a lot of people believe that that's just kind of like a starter kit for beneficial bacteria. So if a person has a chronic diarrhea or some crazy infection where the body's like, get all this stuff out of here, and it comes screaming through this system and then out the back door and wipes out all this beneficial bacteria, we have kind of like this starter kit in the appendix where they can come back out and set up camp and make things good again. But if this gets wiped out from chronic diarrhea and it's getting wiped out over and over again, and then these bad guys are coming in because the front door's not closed, then this area here, this gut flora that's supposed to be so great in the large intestine, becomes a bad town. And it's a bad town where you don't want to visit at night. So a lot of people either have trouble with probiotics or they don't really see many benefits from taking probiotics. I hear from a lot of people that are like, yeah, I took the probiotics for a whole week and they didn't fix everything that's been going wrong in my body for the last 40 years. So I think this is just somebody trying to sell me some pills. Okay. Well, the reality is that if somebody has a bad town here, and there's a lot of bad microorganisms, when you put the probiotics in there, then they're going to go to battle against these microorganisms. And that battle that's going on can create a lot of discomfort, cramping and bloating and gassiness and diarrhea. So it can create a lot of trouble. And what a person really needs to do is set up the environment so that those beneficial bacteria can thrive. If you're just going to put these good guys into a bad town, it's probably not going to go that great. So that's why you have a lot of people that will take probiotics, have it not go well, and then they just kind of stop. What really needs to happen is we need to fix any digestive malfunctions so that this system is working correctly. And you might need to take some steps to wipe out bad bacteria. I'll put a link in the description below for steps you can take to wipe out bacteria in the stomach for a video you can watch to learn some steps there. But if the stomach acid function is not working, that really has to be corrected. If bile is not flowing correctly, that has to be corrected. This system needs to be functioning, and this system needs to be in a better shape so that when you put probiotics, they have the ability to thrive and they can set up, and then we can get all these benefits that can come from this beneficial gut flora. So if you're dealing with any digestive symptoms like burping or bloating or acid reflux or constipation or diarrhea or nausea or acne or skin issues, or maybe food just kind of sits there like a rock in your stomach for hours, all of those are signs that digestion is not working correctly. And my book, Kick Your Fat in the Nuts, chapters 3 and 4, can walk you through how to figure out, are there aspects of digestion that are not working correctly? And if so, what steps can I take to improve those? And the book is available on Amazon, but I'm going to put a link in the description below where you can get the whole thing totally for free. Because to get the benefits from taking probiotics, you really want to make sure this system is working correctly. And if you're not even sure, you can jump over right now and check out our video on 20 signs you're not digesting your food correctly. And that'll help you get some insights that, oh, maybe I do have a lot of signs. Maybe I do need to take steps so that I can get the benefits from those probiotics. Let us know how it goes.